Hey everyone, what's up? Have you ever thought about everything that happened in Brazil since Cabral arrived? It's been over 500 years of history. Today, I'm going to tell you some awesome stories about our country's past. I've prepared a list of 10 fun facts that will blow your mind. So, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and let's travel back in time together. If you think everything started in Rio de Janeiro, think again. Brazil's history is much older and more fascinating than you can imagine. We have to go back to 1532. That's the year the Portuguese started to leave their mark on Brazilian territory. São Vicente in São Paulo was the first city founded by the Portuguese in Brazil. Just imagine a city being born in the middle of the jungle with huge challenges ahead. The city had streets, churches, houses. It was like the New York City of its time. The streets were busy with people from all over, and the buildings reflected Portuguese architecture. It was the starting point for everything Brazil became. São Vicente was the cradle of Brazilian civilization, where everything began to develop. It was there that Portuguese culture began to mix with the indigenous culture, where the first buildings were erected. This cultural mix is what makes Brazil so unique today. You can visit ruins, old churches, museums. Every corner of São Vicente tells a story, every stone holds a secret from the past. It's like we can go back in time and take a stroll through 16th century São Vicente. Imagine walking the same streets that the first settlers walked, feeling the atmosphere of a time so distant and yet so present in our culture. Who here is in college or has already gone through that experience? The first university in Brazil was founded in 1808. The Escola de Cirurgia da Bahia in Salvador was the pioneer. Only the children of the elite had access to higher education at that time. The creation of the Escola de Cirurgia was an important step for Brazil's development. After it, other universities began to appear throughout the country, training doctors, lawyers, engineers, and professional procrastinators. Hello, information lovers! Meet the Gazeta do Rio de Janeiro, the first Brazilian newspaper, which circulated in 1808. No cell phone notifications. People had to wait for the newspaper to be printed and hope to get a copy. The Gazeta was controlled by the Portuguese crown, so the news was kind of edited. Even with all the restrictions, the Gazeta was a milestone in the history of communication in Brazil. For the first time, the population had access to information on a regular basis. Seriously, folks, who here loves books? Books are portals to other worlds, aren't they? They take us on incredible adventures, teach us new things, and make us feel a range of emotions. Meet the National Library, the first public library in Brazil, opened in Rio de Janeiro in 1810. It was a milestone in the history of our country, bringing a new world of knowledge and culture to everyone. There were more than 60,000 books brought directly from Portugal. These books were true treasures containing a vast range of knowledge and stories that enriched Brazilian culture. It was open to the public. Anyone could visit the library and have access to that sea of knowledge. Just imagine, in a time when access to information was so limited, having a place like that was revolutionary. The National Library became a true cultural center with literary gatherings, debates, and lectures. It was a meeting point for intellectuals, artists, and all those who sought to expand their horizons. It holds not only books, but also the memory of our country, the history of our culture, and the evolution of our thought. Each document, each book, each manuscript is an important piece of our historical legacy. In colonial Brazil before coins, bartering was the way to go. It was trade for trade. In 1695, the first Brazilian coins appeared, the famous provincial coins. Each region had its own coins, which caused some problems. In 1834, the government unified the currency and created the real. And so, we finally got rid of bartering and fully entered the age of money. Who here likes a good play? Meet the Teatro de São João, the first theater in Brazil, opened in Rio de Janeiro in 1813. It was the place to be for Rio's elite, with a capacity for over 1,000 people. In 1921, a devastating fire completely destroyed the building. Even with its tragic end, the Teatro de São João left its mark on Brazilian history. It was the stage for great shows and memorable moments. In the past, traveling through Brazil was a real adventure. In 1861, everything changed with the inauguration of the União e Indústria Road, the first paved road in Brazil. It connected the cities of Petrópolis and Juiz de Fora in Rio de Janeiro. The road was 144 kilometers long and was paved with macadam. The União e Indústria Road was a milestone for Brazil's development, facilitating the transport of people and goods. In colonial Brazil, saving money was quite a challenge. In 1818, everything changed with the arrival of the Portuguese royal family in Brazil. Dom João XVI decided to create the Banco do Brasil, the country's first financial institution. Banco do Brasil started small, but it grew and expanded to other cities. With the creation of Banco do Brasil, we could finally say goodbye to hidden piggy banks and have a safe place to keep our savings. Let's talk politics. Today, we're going to dive into the history of the first Brazilian Constitution, a document that shaped the foundations of our country. In 1824, the first Brazilian Constitution emerged. This document was a milestone in Brazilian history, as it established the rules and norms that would guide the newly independent nation. After independence, it was time to create a set of laws for the new country. Brazil's independence, proclaimed in 1822, brought with it the urgent need for a legal system that could organize society and the government. The 1824 Constitution defined the rights and duties of citizens and the structure of government. It was inspired by European models, but adapted to the Brazilian reality, seeking to balance powers and guarantee order. Even with its flaws, the 1824 Constitution was an important step towards consolidating Brazil's independence. It faced criticism and challenges, but it was fundamental to the construction of a sovereign state. It laid the foundations of the Brazilian state and served as inspiration for the constitutions that followed. The first Brazilian constitution not only marked the beginning of a new era, but also profoundly influenced the country's political and social evolution. In the past, life was even more complicated for those who didn't have a clock nearby. In colonial Brazil, having a clock was a luxury that few could afford. The clock at the São Bento Monastery in Rio de Janeiro, dating back to 1637, is a true relic. It was brought from Portugal and installed at the top of the monastery tower, where it remains to this day. Visiting the São Bento monastery and watching the clock in operation is like taking a trip back in time. We've reached the end of another amazing journey through the past of our beloved Brazil. I hope you enjoyed learning these 10 historical facts. So, which one shocked you the most? Tell me in the comments. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos. Turn on notifications. Give this video a thumbs up and share it with everyone who also enjoys history. Thanks everyone.